Welcome to the November meeting of the Commission on Aging. Thanks for everybody joining us. Our first item on the agenda is the discussion of the October minutes. Does anybody have any questions or changes or suggested issues with that? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the October minutes? Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Appreciate it, Susan. All in favor? Thank you so much. We'll turn over to Beth for the Mather Center report.
Okay, well, today is our busy day that we haven't had for 2 years. We're doing for the Thanksgiving luncheon. Instead of 150 people, it's 72. We're still doing 4 people at a seat because we're still experiencing some folks having difficulty with even the flu and colds, but COVID too. So we're erring on the side of caution. We have our wonderful public servants coming to serve, Allie being one of them. So that's going to be fun because everybody always loves that as well. And just to let you know, the December issue of Highlights and Happening will be out on Friday because we have so many things going on in December. Hopefully the weather will be with us so that we can spread the entertainments out. So that if you can't make one and it gets filled, because that's with the limits right now, there's going to be something else. One day is going to be as exciting as the next. So the staff is going to be working very hard making sure that this is a really festive holiday. I just wanted to take a shout out to Oliver James, our SWACA volunteer for Medicare Choices. He has been doing 6 people every Tuesday, which I can't even believe how intensive it is.
No, he does an outstanding job. That's my day, my volunteer day, so I get to see the people coming in and going out. And their comments are wonderful. The guy is great. He really does a great job. People come out of this so happy that he's been able to solve some of their problems. Yeah. It's great move here.
And I didn't realize, Allie probably does it, he's been a SWACA volunteer doing Medicare Choices for a long time, and he never he's in Westchester area, but he has an affiliation with ours for long reasons that we don't need to bore the people with. But he was loved that he came to Darien. So he's just been, been
great.
Incredible. And
excellent.
You have to really, as we all know, Allie and Cynthia are above and beyond any kind of honor and praise we can give them. You don't realize how time consuming.
It's labor intensive.
It's so labor intensive, it's not funny. And all the knowledge you have to and how you have to upgrade that knowledge every year because everything changes. So kudos to that.
Kudos to you to getting Oliver to help us.
But he has been filled every week, so
Yeah.
he's with us. The last day for us is December 8th, which is a Wednesday, and we have openings for that Tuesday, and I think November 29th, not that Wednesday, excuse me, and November 29th Tuesday. So if you're a first timer, because that's really what we've been taking, we haven't taken the people who have a well-established relationship with Allie and Cynthia. We've been taking first timers who are more labor intensive. So if you're seeing all those crazy commercials and they're driving you nuts like they drive me nuts, I throw my
Stuff in
slipper
the mail.
at the TV constantly and say not nice things. My husband's getting tired of it. I can't wait to open the room. It's over. But people need to understand that those commercials are commercials. Sitting with these experts is so important and can make you feel so much better about what your choices are, and again, open enrollment
Save you money.
and save you tremendous money.
Not always.
Not always, yeah. Some people have incredible plans too,
Yeah.
but open enrollments every year, and we're going to try to keep this relationship going. So we are looking ourselves, we're looking for a part-time activities assistant and a part-time building attendant, because as we get busier and busier, these are positions we had prior to COVID that we still haven't been able to fill. And as we're getting busier and busier, the need for those folks is really important, but it's still hard to find part-time folks. So we're getting the staff up to snuff to get ready for the busyness, and most of our programs are filled at this point. We're back to signing up just so that we know how many people we have in each program, not for limitation, but so we know how many people we have in each program. And it's budget time, so these lines, I could use some Botox.
Me too.
Not fun. But everything has gone up. So all of the services that we utilize, all the contractors, all the chemicals, everything has gone up considerable. So there's going to be a considerable increase or request of increase for our budget because of that too. Just want you to also know that we've gotten a lot more outreach from folks that are calling us now that are ready to come back into the center. but are having a little issue. So at home, Chris isn't here today, been making more referrals for driving to the center and dropping folks off that have abandoned driving because their age has escalated and they've gotten a little bit more frail. So that's been a really nice synergy. And they're finding ways, Chris has been doing a really great job of putting people together so that there's 3 or 4 coming in together to the Mather Center on specific days, coordinating it that way. So you get a little bit more ridership, but making it easier for them to schedule. So that's really an important synergy. And just with also the library, I want to give a shout out to the library because they're coming once a month doing a class for beginners, and we're sticking with beginners. We're making it generic for our tech because we did, through ARPA funds, get 12 new computers, and they're coming once a month by appointment. But we are still looking for folks, either by contract or volunteer, to be there on a regular weekly basis too, because we have so many people interested. So not that we're going to be using technology not forever, whether there's pandemics or not. So we just have to get all up to speed and be efficient and not afraid of using it. I think that's it for me. I'm not going to say anything about the senior center working group till later.
Sounds good.
Is that?
That's
Yeah.
the plan.
Okay.
Great. Any questions for Beth relating to the Mather Center? Thank you, Beth. We'll circle back to you in old business. Ally, Human Services Report.
Okay, good morning. So our low-income energy assistance program is well underway, and people who heat with oil were able to start getting deliveries on November 1st. We do have some new people coming in this year. Obviously, a lot of our clients are concerned, as am I, about the increased oil prices, right? So unfortunately, the agency that processes the applications is so far behind that even some of our people who applied at the beginning of October have still not been approved. So we're kind of following up with them and kind of pushing them along and reminding them because people are waiting for deliveries. But and again, this year there's no asset limit, so like I said before, some of our seniors who weren't eligible in the past are, and hopefully that continues. The Mental Health Task Force for Darien, this Saturday is actually it's International Suicide Survivors Day, and there is an event that we are coordinating at Norotan Presbyterian Church. It's for anyone who's lost someone, whether it's a loved one, friend, anyone who's been affected by suicide loss is welcome to come. And if anyone is interested, they can email me directly. It's from 9 till 12:30 at Norotan Presbyterian Church. So this is the first one that's happening in Fairfield County, actually. There's one in Niantic. Those are the only 2 in Connecticut, but it happens in every state, and it's all on the same day. There are some virtual ones now, and not just in the States, like I said, it's international. So that is this Saturday. Adopt a family or adopt a senior, we're well underway. Some of you probably got emails from us already. Thank you for participating. So anyone who's interested, we have the Adopt a Family program, which is for our low-income families, and we get wish lists. We are still sticking mostly with gift cards because actually the families have found that they really like it because then they can do the shopping themselves. I know it's not as fun for some of the donors, but you can still give some fun stuff along with the gift cards. So we match them up, and then so no one ever meets, obviously, but it's just wonderful. I think the people who donate, most people come back year after year, just like those of you who donate to your seniors. And then for our seniors, they're not necessarily low income. It could be someone that we know is struggling or lonely or had a loss, just trying to brighten them up. And we have some high school girls that offered again to deliver some of them to the homebound ones because they had so much fun doing it last year. So anyone who's interested, call Human Services or email me.
And a quick question.
Yeah.
Could someone stop by with cash, or do they have to be a check or a credit card, or how does it do?
Anything, yeah. If you want to just donate to us, then we can purchase the gifts for the senior.
Perfect.
Any donations, we welcome.
Great.
Thank you. Beth already touched on Medicare open enrollment. Honestly, we are so relieved to have them helping us. It's tremendous. It's so much, because there's other things we do besides Medicare open enrollment, so everything seems to happen at the same time. So no, it's been great. I'm so glad that Oliver's working out, and hopefully he commits to next year before this year's even over. So yeah, so that's through December 7th. Every year it's October 15th through December 7th. And again, as I always say, winter time is here, so emergency call list. We did actually, after the speaking at the senior center, a few new people got onto our list. that panel that we had on emergency preparedness, was it last month?
Yeah, I just want to comment on that. It was so well attended and so appreciated. We did, am I, my home and my community ready for an emergency? And it was Ally, Bobby Bush, Dave Knopf, Mark McEwen. And never, the presentation was wonderful, but the questions that came, and then they stayed for lunch, and they still have questions during lunch, so it worked out so wonderful. So we want to see if we try to do that again next year, because even the questions, right, were some of the things were.
Yeah, there was a great conversation going on.
Yeah, it was really good, and it was attended by over 35 Darien residents too, so it was really, really, because we're gonna do it again.
Was it on TV 79 or did
It
anybody
was,
tape it?
it was
Yeah,
not
so-
taped,
Okay.
so that's a good
Next year,
point. Next
yeah.
year, we should actually do it and keep it so people can listen to it on the loop, because it was so, I think we were surprised too.
Yeah, that it went
Yeah.
to the very, very end. It
Yeah,
went to the whole-
well, I had to get the hook and take them in the other room, because the questions kept going, so they had lunch, but.
Which was
It was
delicious.
a working lunch, because everybody kept coming up to them, so it was awesome, yeah.
Very cool.
That's all I have.
Any questions for Ally? Hearing none, thank you so much. Beth, when I turn to you, back to old business on the working group.
Yes, we are making great progress, and actually, Michael Werner, who's on the General Assembly and basically one of the main communicators of for the Senior Center Working Group, did a presentation for CASP, which is the Connecticut Association of Senior Center Personnel. That was the first live meeting that they've done for the 169 towns. It was in Berlin, Connecticut. I happened to not be able to attend, but he called me the day before and we did the presentation together, which was quite an honor. Because I send out the notes from the meeting to the whole 14 Fairfield County directors, and I get feedback back and forth, so I shared everything that I had in writing with him, and then we talked about what the greater group would benefit from. So we're going to be the field representative who's going to be the senior center liaison. The job description has been written, and they are seeing people. They were hoping to have someone hired by November, so I'll see tomorrow, because Friday we have a meeting. So we'll see how that's going. And basically, two things that they were asking us to reach out to do. One was they want to have a senior center forum like they do in the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is pretty much a wonderful, their commissions on aging are very active. They have a great synergy with how they do senior services. So we've been utilizing them as a reference point and to teach us as well. So they wanted to know what we wanted to see if we had this kind of a forum, and also if we could ask that all of our staffs go so that we could talk to our municipalities. We all could go and have the day off to actually interact with everyone who has a certain role that's similar, best practices, training programs, all kinds sorts of things. So we sent a whole bunch of information up from our group. We have a wonderful group. This is the group of all groups to represent, because everybody has an opinion in Fairfield County, which is awesome for me, so I'm never left out in the wind. And also the other thing that they wanted to know about the ARPA funds, where this $10 million is going to go split up to each senior center that asks for the money. So the guidelines are almost set with what the guidelines are going to be, and the actual offering, they're going to figure out the percentages for each town, are going to go to mayors, first selectmen, whatever the governing board is. And from there, they're supposed to then talk to us and talk about how we would utilize whatever our portion's going to be. So we're very excited. We're all making lists. We don't know what we're going to get, but we're all making lists of how we would like to utilize that funding, because it's kind of a one-time funding. That also was supposed to be completed by November. So this meeting is going to be a really hopping meeting on Friday. So most of the meetings, I have to tell you, they are the full 2 hours. We think of our state as, I just want to say, you should be very proud of the Department on Aging, the Unit on Aging, because they really are working to make our state better, more comprehensive, excellent services and continuity with each other. So they are working on all kinds of systems. They're really taking the ideas, the critiques of every town to try to make themselves even a a better unit since we all got divided and splintered and are under that one commission that is for children, women, and elderly. The Department on Aging is really working at making sure that specifically what seniors need throughout the state is heard and validated, and then we move forward in a more organized way. So
This is very good news. It's the first time we've heard about Hartford really having something that's really effective in terms of, you know, in this, because we've always been hearing about everything being split up. So now that you have the Department of Aging stepping up, that's,
I think the people that are in charge, Claire Coates is an amazing gal, and I think Michael Werner and, you know, is really, he's such a wonderful, collaborative person, and he's very bright, but he has an enormous heart. He really has a compassion and a passion for this. So I think that's helping too. And
Stephen Hernandez is also.
And Stephen Hernandez, who's really actually the pinnacle at the head of this all politically. So they're hearing things loud and clear and they're asking the right questions. And they're listening, you know, the fact that Michael called, and because Fairfield County always seems to be a little bit dissed based on the fact that they think that we don't need what we need. But the message I've been giving them is Bridgeport, Norwalk, Stanford. Bridgeport, Norwalk, Stanford. Bridgeport, Norwalk, Stanford. We need to be considered. The population, the diversity, the poverty level, all of that, the challenges, and what the towns can do to enhance too. Because the towns aren't going to take more than they need to, but they still have to be creative utilizers of whatever these funds are and supportive. And I think what they saw was during COVID, we grew to be a really cooperative team together and helped each other. And that's the way to deliver service. So they're seeing it too. And Peter, if you want to comment, you can.
Yeah,
Certainly.
and it's not without bumps in the road
Right.
either. And I'll give you a quick example, and maybe I can talk a bit more about this. I'd like to give a little bit of an update on my SWACA, my first SWACA meeting. But to come back to that, this money is a grant money, so it's going to go away. And $2 million, for example, was earmarked for nutritional programs intended to think outside the box. So not just, you know, build up food pantries or build up hot meals and delivery, but think outside the box. But what's happened is there's such a need right now that money is already being siphoned off for everyday needs.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
again, in a way, we can understand it. There's really hunger issues in the state, and we have to deal with it. Sadly, though, this money, which was seed money to think outside the box and grow programs, we're worried that it may go away. So I mean, so these are some of the difficulties, and you're right. I mean, it's just taking a long time for it to develop. I'll continue with, so I attended my first SWACA. I mean, does everybody know what SWACA is? No, okay. So 1965, I guess it was, the government formed the Older Americans Act. And different states did different things, but the state of Connecticut created 5 areas on aging. In other words, 5 structures to deal with aging issues. Okay, and we are Southwestern Connecticut Agency Area Aging.
Agency on Aging.
Agency on Area. I always get it backwards.
Yeah.
There are 19 towns, and SWACA has tremendous programs you've heard about, certainly about the Medicare, and they have an advisory council, and I've joined them representing Darien, actually trying to take Allie's place.
Well, and I tried to take Beth's place. She did it for 10 years, I did it for 2, and now it's your turn, Peter. Thank you.
But just a few of the highlights of what's going on, okay? And I won't report this every month, but just to give you an idea what the issues are. The heating subsidy programs, one of the things they're running into a problem is finding fuel oil vendors because of the price of fuel, and a lot of these vendors are small and they don't have the money to pay for the fuel. So I mean, that's a complication.
And they agree to a certain rate, so they so they sometimes take a cut.
Right.
So they've been limited.
Yeah. Fraud, there's a new fraud emerging, and again, AARP's on top of it, but senior stimulus checks. So somebody's come up with the idea that you'll call seniors and say, hey, did you get your senior stimulus check? It's again, another whole little bit of fraud. The DSS offices, which I think is interesting, are closed on Wednesday so that they can do their own work and will not accept telephone calls. Well, guess what? They now said they're going to close Tuesday afternoons because they have to get ready for Wednesday. So, I mean, so here again is a state office providing service and yet essentially shutting themselves off to their clients to deal with their own issues. More eviction notices. There are many more eviction notices emerging. And finally, which I thought was really interesting, is folks are finding that there is more hostility and anger these days among seniors. And I heard a couple of stories of what happened at some senior centers. It's just like everybody is so uptight. Everybody is worried. The prices are going up. And so this is an issue that, again, they haven't faced for a while. But so these are some of the things that are going on that SWACA and organizations like that are dealing with. I don't know, does anybody have any questions?
Just back to the DSS, it's almost impossible for clients to make, they can spend hours on hold trying to get through to someone.
Mhm.
There's one number for the entire state.
Crazy.
Yep.
Well, that's my SWACA experience so far.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll give you
Jim.
highlights
We
time to time.
definitely appreciate your service on that commission, Peter, especially because to keep us in touch with what's going on those issues, because we're seeing them, but not to that level, so it's good that we can hear from you on those. Thank you. Other old business? Jerry?
I just wanted to make a remark to Beth about the Thanksgiving dinner. I keep in touch with a couple of the three seniors, and they are really seniors. They're 99, 98, and the other one is probably 95. And I have to tell you, it just warms my heart to see what this Darien Senior Center programs does for all of us. I mean, I'm a senior, but I don't consider myself senior. I think, like I'm forever 21. But when I listen to these seniors, how excited they are to come to this luncheon today. One lady fell, and she called me last night, and she says, I fell, but the only thing I'm very disappointed is that I'm not going to be able to come to the Thanksgiving dinner and see Beth and Stacy and everybody. And I think that to bring this to our seniors in this town is absolutely remarkable. To see the enthusiasm, and they know that somebody's caring for them. And she even said to me, in 2 years, she said, I want to have my birthday party downtown so I could walk around. And she's 98. I mean, it's just incredible. So, I really congratulate you and everybody that we all have our heart in everything we're doing.
The support system to, come in on what Peter just said, and
Yeah.
thank you, Jerry, for what you're saying, but also, you are ageless and you're going to work today, so. For double enough.
I put shoes on this morning. I said fashion or safety,
No.
so it's
And comfort. But it is true that people are much more tense, people are much more overwhelmed. This is one of the things why we've been really working on having more entertainments, having more fun things as options. We probably wouldn't have done as much as we've been doing based on the fact that there's a lot of residual angst. There's still a lot of fear of people being together. That's why we're still doing the 4 people at the table. We're still making masking optional. We're keeping people informed if we do have little outbreaks, because we have. Because we feel that too, the connection that some folks have lost. And there has been a lot of loss of just being in the community the way that they were before. We're fortunate so far, no fist fights or outbreaks that way, but there is a shortness of people being able to deal with frustration, for sure, because it's just like it's that one more straw to break the camel's back. So the more things that we can do this way, and it's really, as we have the older, I always say it's 4 decades. We have that older population, yes, that is there to be served. There's also a lot of folks that are coming into the center that do service for us, and as well as active people that are just picking and choosing to stay enriched, keep healthy and well, and participate in all the programming. So it's just, there's got to be something for those whole 4 decades. And when you think about it, it's a big span and a big span of needs. So we've got to work on being multi-interesting too, as far as the programming. So, but to our volunteers too, I don't know what we would do without our volunteers, because we have a very small staff for what we're doing, and all hands on deck. Ray too, Peter too. So, thank you. So thanks.
Oh gosh, I meant that, from the bottom of my heart. I mean, last week, the entertainment was just absolutely fabulous. You had that American songwriter come in and sing, and those people were, kicking their feet and singing.
We'll talk about wanting to film. We would have loved to have Jerry. We did Halloween for the first time in 2 years too, and she led a conga line of over 35 people who came to be part of the Halloween costume event.
Nice.
So I think we had like almost 70 people for that too.
Yeah.
Where was 79 for that one?
Yeah, you had
I'm gonna
to.
talk about her costume.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
And a 95-year-old said to me, "You're Cher."
Yeah.
And he said, "And not only are you Cher, but do you know how many gold records Cher had?"
Yeah.
I almost fell over. I didn't even know how many gold records she had.
And for the first time, we had a magician, and he worked the room like he was like he had done this all of his life. He was absolutely incredible. So it was, but again, without our volunteers helping and supporting
It was
us, we
great.
could never have done that. But it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
And I'll give a shout out to Ally in Human Services. There is a senior, I'll protect her privacy, who is moving out of state this week. And it has been an amazing effort among all of St. John's Church, as well as Ally and other folks, to keep this senior going. And she's moving out of state, and so it's one of those things where it's a good warm fuzzy that this has been able to happen. And so I'm just, thank you, Ally, and for all the folks you've done to work with it.
Thank you, and Beth.
yeah, she's been at the center every day for
Nice.
lunch.
Nice, thank you,
Yeah.
Beth, as well.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, Peter, you got something else for us?
I do, Joe, a couple of things. Let me talk about the follow-up to the election. So the early voting ballot, they voted yes, 59% to 41%. So the state is ready for early voting. More than 45 million of us voted early in this country this year. And in only 4 states, Alabama, Mississippi, New Hampshire, and Connecticut, where you're not allowed that opportunity unless you had to go through some elaborate process. So the legislature now is going to look at it. I think being late might be good, because they'll be able to look at what 46 other states have already done. And the question is going to become, there's 2 dimensions of it. Do we vote in person earlier, or are there options to vote by mail, by internet, by other electronic modern means? And so that's going to be unfolding. And again, I would encourage all of us, because we know it really provides flexibility to older adults, even more so than to younger adults. The second thing was, as you may know, our town has 4 representatives. 2 of them were re-elected, Senator Duff and Senator Billy Miller. And we have the 2 new reps representing us in Connecticut. One of them is Cece Mayer, who knows us, I guess, because she worked for 14 years at person to person,
She was the head of it.
and she was the head of it. She lives in Wilton. The second person is Tracy Mara, who has no political experience. She was a pharmacist, and she is going to try to fill Terry Wood's shoes. And it is so important that we become connected with these people, that we get in front of them, that we teach them what our issues are, that they begin to know our interests. I cannot stress that enough. So if you know these folks socially, if you've been on boards with them, begin to talk to them about elder care issues and get them focused on what we need to do. The great example of it in my mind was Attorney General William Tong, who, by the way, won his office with the highest percentage of vote difference of anybody in the entire state at all levels. William represented us, part of us, myself included, my part of where I live in Darien, for a number of years. And it was William that listened to us when we went to him and talked to him about senior adult, older adult issues like dealing with legal issues. And it was he that put in the hotline for elder abuse. And again, again for our viewers, that elder abuse number is 860-808-5555. So if you have an elder abuse issue, you can call his office. That phone is manned. It is manned by the Attorney General's office. And I think a lot of this, did we do it ourselves? No, we didn't. There were lots of people that did it. But we need to do that because we were certainly a part of the awareness. So again, as we wrap up the political this issue for this year, we ought to really focus on that and remember that and do that in our daily lives when we meet these folks in the coffee shop or on a board or something else. ARP, tax aid is going to be back. The library, again, was one of the very first to raise their hands. And so Mondays from 1 to 7, Fridays from 9 to 4, Saturdays from 9 to 4, they will be doing tax aid. Last year we did 1,050, the most used tax aid site in the state. And it's not just for seniors, it's for anyone that needs tax aid, anybody that has a simple filing. So it's irregardless of your wealth, irregardless of your age, but again, it's focused, of course, on older adults. Are you doing anything at the senior center at this point?
He hasn't reached out to me yet.
So-
I emailed him, but haven't.
So there might be a possibility that,
Yeah.
again, there might be something going on.
A day a week, we
Right.
hope.
I don't know how many of you saw this article in our paper. I'm not sure how many of us even bother to read the Darien Times anymore. Sites rated best cities for biking and walking. Number 3, interestingly enough, was Stanford. Anybody want to guess where Darien ranked?
Third from the bottom, right?
Yep. Number 29 or number 30. I looked at the piece of research. I'm not as concerned about the value of that research because it focused on other things. But it made a point, and the point is biking, walkability is going to increase and is increasing in cities large and small. And what we're starting with walkability here is something that really we need to focus on in the years ahead, and it's going to become more and more important. AARP also announced in the last month it's in the state of Connecticut 7 grants for livable communities. And these are small grants. They're $5,000 or less. They have to be executed within a year. But let me tell you what the grants were. The Agency on Aging for South Central Connecticut got a grant to develop volunteer outreach programs. The Bristol Senior Center for establishing 12 memory cafes. Family Centers in Greenwich looking at technology to teach isolated individuals in their homes, really isolated individuals. Groton Senior Center is developing a pocket park. The town of Glastonbury is putting in a bocce court, interestingly enough, in a little space that they have adjoining their property. The town of Plainfield is putting in a mini park at its senior center. And the town of Simsbury is putting together a program of sharing stories with adults. I just again bring this up to say that these are programs that are ongoing. These are programs that it's not a lot of money, but it's more than the money though. It's getting the community to realize that older adults are an important part of their population, and how can they serve them. So I think that's a really good thing. That's it.
Thank you, Peter. Questions for Peter? Other old business, thanks to Sue again for being willing to serve on the Blight Commission. I believe you're going before the selectmen at some point this month, is that correct?
I haven't heard a word, so
I'll
I'm
follow
just
up with
waiting
them,
to
because
be-
that was my understanding through the selectmen's office, so I'll make sure they reach out to you.
Okay.
Okay, because ideally, we'd love to have you seated in December, so I'll try to, that'll be my first email when I get back to my office today, but thank you for being willing to serve, appreciate that. Any other old business? Hearing none, any new business?
So we have some at-home and Darien business.
Go for it.
Well, just tying in with the earlier reports, our metrics for rides and our taxi voucher programs are just zooming. And as you all know, we hired another driver. We're currently now open half days on Friday. The demand looks like it's probably there, that we'll end up going a full day there. So we're really getting people who need rides beyond just medical appointments. And like Chris is trying to consolidate efforts. If there's, like at the Mather Center, if there's events that occur, they'll try to add people to the same trip. So, you know, in the past, they did that to a certain extent, but they've really gotten sophisticated about doing that. And I think it's really important to recognize that we're in our budget process right now. And I'm really proud of the way the community has reacted and continued to support through the time I've been on their board. It has really grown in an understanding of the value of this. And to give you an idea of some of the things we're thinking about, because we're not like New Canaan, we don't charge an annual subscription fee. You know, New Canaan, I think it might be $600 a year, and then you can qualify for services. You're automatically a member at home in Darien when you turn, what, 62 or 60, yeah. And we're looking at, for instance, if you think in terms of who our service goes to, a lot of it is to the medical side. And so we have a marketing effort underway right now, and they're going to start figuring out, are there ways we can contact doctors and say, well, by the way, so-and-so is one of your patients and gets a free ride every time that they have an appointment with your office. And you should know, and possibly you should consider supporting At Home at Darien, because without that service, it's very difficult for many of these folks to even try to make the time available with the doctors, get a scheduled appointment, and get a sure transportation need fulfilled. It's considering how small our staff is in there, they do a tremendous job. If you ever walk into that office, the phone's constantly ringing, and they're constantly servicing clients, and they schedule ahead. You can make your plans. They get all the details. Typically, do you have to wait when you go see your doctor? And so they're trying to get even more efficient about using the time, so the driver can take the person and knows that I can squeeze in another client in that time frame. So it's really becoming, I think, a very sophisticated operation. Not that it hasn't been in the past, but they're really going to new levels here. And again, it's a very unappreciated value outside of the people who use it. The people who use it swear by it. I mean, it's we have a lot of people who've said, I could not do the external meetings I have, appointments I have without At Home in Darien. So it's very important, and I think it's important for the public to understand what a valuable service it is. We're having our annual meeting at the library. I can't remember, is it December?
December 6th.
6th, and it'll be at the library. You're all invited. We have food, but it's just snacks, basically. But it's a really good chance to meet people who use the service. We get a lot of our clients actually show up for the annual meeting. We have speakers. Last year, 2 years ago, we had William Tong.
Last year.
Oh, was it last year? We had William Tong, and he came in, and a lot of the input he got for some of his office staff to understand was, for instance, how many people are getting unsolicited phone calls constantly, and that the system is broken as far as trying to manage that. You know, you have all these quote solutions. You can get off this list or on this, and typically they don't work very well. So I think he was really impressed by our knowledge of those issues. So I just think it's an important gem in the town services. They do a lot of things that people don't recognize. But again, the public's invited. We do 5 minutes of business to start it off, and then we either have panels to speak with volunteers, people from the office, or we have board members. So I invite everyone in the public to come down to the library and see what we're all about.
It's such a tremendous resource too, because as seniors age and have their skills at driving may not be the greatest. So to be able to say, hey, you've got a free ride anywhere you want in town, that's such a nice service for not only for the seniors but for their children, to be able to say, hey dad, hey mom, you know, there's this opportunity for you to use this instead of potentially taking your life behind your hands and the wheel. So I think that's just a wonderful thing that we can offer that At Home in Darien does, as well as all the other services you provide.
And the taxi voucher program as an augment to that really is effective. And even with our new driver added, we still solicit and need volunteer drivers. So if there's anybody that's interested and capable, if you contact the office here, there's a process you go through. I wouldn't call it in depth, but to get certified to be able to drive. And again, having that volunteer help really helps us, because the budget is not huge. Like I said, we're going through the budget season right now, and it is not a large budget. So getting additional help from people who volunteer, just call the office, and believe me, they will have you doing something pretty quickly.
Let me add a footnote to what Jim is saying. Our annual meeting for At Home in Darien, I think, is very important. And for example, I was very disappointed, almost embarrassed last year by how few of us were there when William Tong made a presentation. So this was the Attorney General essentially laying out his crisis hotline. It was his first public appearance. As Jim said, he was gathering information, but it was a nearly empty room. And yes, we could say we're making a transition out of COVID, but again, to those of us here in the room, to those of us that might be watching, it's not one of those board of directors annual meetings that is done in a coffee shop at midnight. or on a Sunday afternoon. It's done at a public place, at a public time, and its intention is not just to talk about the programs, but to get the community, all aspects of it, the human resources, the not-for-profits in town, the public servants in town, our legislators, to come and see what we're doing and hear what we're doing. Because we're doing incredible. I mean, New Canaan has about 300 people in their program, and we have 3,800. That's an
Yeah, it's
amazing
great.
difference for a town that's,
Yeah.
towns that are almost exactly the same size. But we're inclusive and not exclusive. So again, I underscore it. I hope to see, I'm going, I hope to see all of you there.
What time is it again?
It's 11 o'clock.
11
At
o'clock.
11, okay.
And bring a friend, bring a neighbor, bring a husband, bring a sister, bring a cousin, bring a kid.
You also forgot to mention that they had a wonderful luncheon recently for the
Yeah,
first
we-
time in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
For
We
yours,
had
too. 130 or something?
100, yeah, 123, I think was the exact number, but it was at the DCA, and it was really well attended. And just, it was a great day, because we got to talk to a lot of the people that they're talking to all the time. So it was a really great day.
Awesome. Any questions for Jim or Peter relating to At Home in Darien? Hearing none, do I have any other new business? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn the November meeting? Thank you, Mary. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody. See you in December.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving.